Presence has become the new cage, an industry standard reduced down to repressed calm. Watch a child cry, like really cry. A few minutes later, they're playing again, like nothing happened. They didn't manage that emotion or analyze it, and they didn't witness it from a safe distance. They lived it all the way, and then it passed. Now, watch an adult under pressure or when they don't get their way. They might say, I notice that I'm scared. I might be feeling some upset. It's clean. It's safe. It's contained. You narrating the storm from somewhere just above it. You're calm, you're centered, you're unmoved, and most times completely cut off from the body. Now, don't get me wrong, the body is still feeling all the feels and the head is analyzing, but there's just a disconnect. That's not presence. That's distance with better branding, if you will. Somewhere along the way in the development path, presence, as it's commonly taught, stopped being aliveness and became a curated performance, like holding a flame to your skin. And instead of saying, ouch, you're training yourself not to flinch. That's not staying responsive under stress. That is a structural problem wearing a forced stillness costume. Underneath everything, your posture, your breath, the way your spine organizes itself against gravity, load, and force, this is what we call structural coherence. It's the floor that everything else gets built on. We covered this in depth in one of our coherence series videos, and I'll link it for you at the end of this one. But essentially, a structurally coherent body does the simple things well. It stands without collapsing. It stabilizes without bracing. It hinges without compensating, and it breathes without restriction. These sound basic, but they're rare. And when they're missing, the mind cannot fix it from analyzing it above. So breath might become contained, your attention will fracture into 1,000 directions, and sensations turn into static, and it mushes itself with the mind's stories until the actual truth of a thing is almost undiscernible. You can journal about it, you can talk about it, you can notice it all day, and none of those things will reorganize a body that is structurally falling apart under the exterior presentation. When structural coherence breaks down, the system goes one of two directions. We cover this in depth in our book, Becoming the Grand Formidable. By the way, the link for that is in the description. So the first breakdown of structural coherence is collapse. The architecture slides. Breathing will lift up into the chest. The spine goes loose. The hips go soft. Attention scatters outward. From the outside, you might look completely fine, like you're a grown-up, right? So you can stand upright, you can be articulate, you can get things done, but the inside story is simply this. I cannot hold myself up right now. And the mind says, I'm just tired. I just need a break. The body is saying something much more direct. It's just that the mind is the last piece to admit it. The second coherence breakdown in structural coherence is bracing, which is the opposite or prerequisite move. So instead of sliding down into collapse, the system will lock, like armor up. So it generates tension to manufacture the feeling of stability. So posture looks upright, but it's held there by effort, expensive effort, not alignment. Breath is present, but it's pressured. It's shallow or gripped. This is usually the coherence breakdown that gets praised because it's on the outside, it looks like discipline. So people will call it discipline. High standards being serious or stoic because like I said, from the outside, it kind of looks the same as those things. But inside, underneath, is fear. The fear of what happens when you can't hold it anymore. Collapse doesn't resolve by relaxing more, and also bracing doesn't either. So if you're bracing and you just try to relax, you'll actually fall, generally speaking, into collapse, which is exactly why letting go to somebody who's braced feels so dangerous. Neither breakdown, neither coherence breakdown softens its way out. So both actually need structural change. Load, range, breath that drops low enough to reach the spine. The kind of organization that makes holding yourself together effortless instead of necessary. If you're sitting there right now trying to figure out, where you fit in structural coherence and how this breakdown works for you, I'm going to give you a tool that's going to help all of this make more sense. So it's underneath how you lead, how you handle conflict, what you call fine, even when it's not, and we map how that lives in the body. We call it how you show up under pressure, how pressure is metabolized in certain embodiment patterns in our Somatic Skins Quiz. So you can find the link to that tool in the description. It's free. It takes a few minutes. My point is that formidable, those who have trained, have options. They are built to be with, to move with whatever shows up. In truth, we all have so many options, so many more options than what we can see at any given moment. But when we're braced or collapsed, we can't spot them. So we keep choosing from the same thing again and again, and then we wonder why we feel powerless. One of our clients recently had such a huge spike in unexpected success. And so I want to illustrate what I'm talking about, but I'm going to use a positive example, right? So they had this huge spike of unexpected success. And because of the foundational work that we had done, her business was already designed to handle it. So that is a version of structure held in the business. The business was designed to scale. The container was solid for increased numbers. Then a handful of posts went viral. People started reaching out in droves, and that's kind of a dream, right? Sort of. A sudden flood of success can spiral someone just as fast as a crisis can. And then sometimes we self-sabotage. We will hold ourselves back from growth because structurally something about us, our business, our container knows that we can't handle it without spiraling. That's why I am a firm advocate for front loading your training before you need it so that you can hold this kind of success and flow with it. So anyways, she had this sudden success, and she's built for load. She's trained with us. We had not only done the foundational work in her business design, but we had trained well on her psychosoma as well. So she was built for this kind of growth, this increase of speed and visibility and responsiveness without strain. If you're not trained and you get an influx suddenly, even if it's everything that you want, your body will still metabolize it as load. It's the difference between training for a 5K and then being told tomorrow that you're running a marathon. The opportunities that come to you, they sometimes don't ask if you're ready for them, right? They just arrive. And what determines whether it becomes momentum or absolute chaos isn't the opportunity. It's making sure that you are already built to receive it. That is the difference. So I'm going to read a testimonial from a different member. She shared this after one of our recent events. It's lengthy, so forgive me for reading to you. Dirty yes, dirty no, which was the event, landed at exactly the right time. Shortly after the event, I found myself navigating a situation that could have easily spiraled me into stress and frustration. Instead, I reset, I stayed open, and I kept orienting toward what felt like a clean yes. What followed was a series of opportunities and outcomes I could have never planned, from meaningful new connections, unexpected support, to doors opening in places that had previously felt difficult or uncertain. The experience reinforced something powerful in me. When I stay clear about my yeses and remain open to receiving, life has a way of meeting me in surprising ways. The thing couldn't have been better. The event timing couldn't have been better, and I'm deeply grateful for the perspective and practice that the event offered. What's she sharing? Well, those shifts, those opportunity alignments, her ability to stay with them even when previously they would have been challenging, those shifts aren't a coincidence. And it's not really about one event. We do not teach people about presence. We don't sit in rooms and talk about the nervous system. We build events that put you inside an experience your system has never had to navigate. And we do it under pressure that often feels like play, but your mind and your body, it finds its way through it in real time. And you leave that event not having learned something conceptually. You leave having done something already, and then your life starts showing the evidence within days or weeks or even months. And then we translate it. So the coaching circles we also lead within the Prestige take what got unlocked in those event experiences, and then we turn it into a codex, something that you carry forward and you apply on purpose, not just something that was a fluke that happened to you once. And then underneath all of this sits the Oracle's Edge, which is our diagnostic process. People who have gone through it describe it as enlightening, soul exposing, almost hypnotic in power, in how it sets off alignment that just keeps working months later without force. If you're on the edge of your next reinvention and you already know that the regular goal setting stuff, the roadmap stuff isn't what's missing, please reach out. We're built for you. We've got you.